Day two of Alpine action at the Torino 2025 FISU Games, and a hugely exciting and historic day for the FISU World University Games, as for the first time para-alpine athletes compete on the same stage as the alpine athletes at the Winter Universiade. Yes, we have six para-alpine races for you. We have the vision impaired standing and sitting in the women's class, and then we go to the men for the vision impaired standing and sitting races in that order. Here are the weather conditions. Well, it's another cold day. We've got a little bit of cloud for the first time in about 3 days, but the snow plenty cold enough to maintain, and that should certainly help the organisers who have worked so hard to get the piste in the right condition and maintain it. So the Super G course, it's the same for both the para athletes and the alpine athletes, starting up at just under 1800 metres, working their way down to just under 1400 metres, and a vertical drop of 415 metres. So getting us underway here on day two of the Alpine action, it is Martina Vozza of Italy who has the honour of being the first para-athlete to compete in the alpine skiing at the FISU Winter Games. And Vozza is a very experienced athlete, going with her guide, Jelena Sabedussi. The guide talking to her athlete, and phenomenal to watch. World Championships, silver in downhill and Super G in 2023, bronze in the slalom in 2021. Great season in the World Cup. And St. Moritz and Santa Catarina's got podiums there to go with 20 others over the last 4 years. As for Sabedussi, she used to race on the FIS Tour, stopped in 2015, and these two have been skiing together since 2021. Now the guy cannot get more than 2 gates in front of her athlete. On a double gate, it doesn't matter so much, it doesn't count. The only time that the athlete can overtake the guide is when they pass the final gate. Brilliant skiing from Vozza. And she tucks for the line at a factor time of 1:11.83. Yet another fantastic exhibition of visually impaired skiing from Martina Vozza and Jelena Sabedussi. Now we go to the standing category, and here is Aurélie Richard from France, second in the GS at St. Moritz in the World Cup 4 days ago, fourth in Courchevel in December, and is currently second in the World Cup rankings in Super G. Racing in the LW68-2 class, and you see there on the right hand side the factor time. She has no factor, so the clock you see is running at a normal pace. You will see a percentage as we go through the other categories, and that just means the clock runs slightly slower to account for the impairment of the athlete. 1:10.67 for Aurélie Richard. Maria Martin Granizzo of Spain in the LW2 class, and you can see there a factor time at 88%, so the clock running slightly slower than it did for Richard. Well, Martin Granizzo, also world champion in adapted surfing, and has been racing on the World Cup this year in giant slalom. So 1:11.83. Oh, so 1:10.67 And 38.99 is Richard's time at the split. Martin Benitez 3.41 off the pace. It's icy out there this morning. The track made entirely of man-made snow. And it was a little bit warm yesterday afternoon and then obviously freezing overnight, so it's going to be very slick on the ski. And Maria Martin Granizzo tucks for the line and stops the clock 1:19.38. So the first of our sit skiers, and it is Audrey Pascual from Spain. And Pascual, another who likes to surf and surfs in the summer. When she was younger though, when it came to skiing, when she competed, she had to compete with adults because there weren't enough kids to create a competition. She's currently ranked 3rd in the FIS point list. And it's fascinating to watch these para athletes come down. They do ski a different line to the alpine athletes, taking into account the impairment that they have. And lovely skiing here from Pascual Secco.
Un appuntamento davvero ricchissimo con tanti giovani
And she
sfilare
stops the clock at
come ha fatto in questo momento.
1:47.1. So that concludes the women's para-alpine Super G across the 3 categories. Now we go back to the top and the first of the men's in the visually impaired. Miguel Golas and Kasper Vallas, his guide, are off and running. The pair podium team this season on the World Cup. Vallas, the guide, had a season racing on the Polish FIS Tour. Golas in the AS3 category with a 94% factor time. So guide and racer linked by radio, and there'll be constant chat all the way down. Good communication between the pair, absolutely vital. Each pair will have a different way that things work for them in terms of closeness or distance between them as they go through the gates, and of course that will change between the disciplines of downhill, Super G, giant slalom and slalom. And over the line, at a time of 1:10.55. Next up, it's Alexander Rauen of Germany, and his guide, Jeremias Wilke. Here they go now, racing in the AS4 class, so 99% factor time. And the second gate, that left footer, is the hardest of the top opening 6. It's very steep, that first pitch between gates 2 and 6. Flattens out here. Again, a pair with really good connection. That bump is causing a bit of an issue. Good work from Rauen. Aiming for the paras next year. It's a big week for German para-alpine because next weekend Germany will host their first ever para-alpine event in Feldberg. First major games this for Rauen, using his experience, he hopes to prepare for the Paris next year, but 4.79 off the pace of Michał Golasz of Poland. But enjoyed that by the looks of things. Good skiing from Rauen and Wilka. Bib number 7 is Arthur Bauchet of France, racing in the LW3 category. Now Bauchet, a 3-time Olympic champion for Beijing in downhill, super combined and slalom. In 2018 in Pyeongchang, he was second in downhill, slalom, super G and super combined. He's a 10-time world champion, most recently alpine combined, giant slalom and slalom in 2023. And he is on full out attack mode as always. Yeah, only 5% factor time, trying to get into that tuck position. Bauchet 34.63 at the split. You've got 5 races in this standing category, remember. And Bauchet going very nicely, trying to stay as aerodynamic as possible inside of the finish. And Bauchet 102.43. That's going to prove a stiff test for the 4 remaining at the top in the standing category. Next up is Jules Segers of France, racing the LW9-2 class. So Segers, who is 23 years of age, represented France in Beijing as well. Scored his first World Cup podium back in 2023 when he was 3rd in a slalom in Cortina d'Ampezzo. Hails from Léger in the Port du Soleil. And with, of course, Morzine and Avoriaz in France, and then everything that Switzerland has to offer on the other side. And big into mountain biking and wakeboarding, with loads of mountain biking trails, and 1.7 off the pace at the split time. 92% the factor time for Segers. Good bottom turns here from the Frenchman. 102.43 the time of Bauchet, and Segers 2.6 outside. The next one to go in this standing category, Oscar Burnham, LW68-2 class. And Burnham on his way, took up skiing after the Pyeongchang Paralympics. He was inspired by Marie Bauchet. Represented France in Beijing, and these are nice opening turns. Missed his left arm in a climbing accident back in 2018. And, well, he's not racing, he's a ski instructor, and still loves mountaineering despite that accident in 2018. No factor time for him, and 3/10 off the pace of Bauchet at the interval. Nice skiing from Burnham. Bauchet's time. Oh, he just got his hand caught in the gate that just threw him out of sync. 102.43, and he's got it. Burnham makes up time in the bottom half of the challenge to take the lead away from his teammate Arthur Bauchet. Leander Kress of Germany now on his way. Another who was in Beijing. The Paralympic Games, his first World Championship came back in January 2019. Back in January, sorry, when he was 19th in the slalom. Also competes in para canoeing back in Germany, and he was inspired by the former German Paralympic Alexander Spitz when Kress was just 9 years old. LW2 class, so an 88% factor time. And at the split, he is slower than Burnham by 4.81 seconds. Nice skiing from Kress, using the riggers to maintain his balance. Oh, just gets thrown late in the line, and now battling to stay in track and doing really well to recover. Good strength from Kress, who will finish in a time of 1:10.86. Italy in the start huts. Giorgio Napoli, the youngest racer in the standing class in oh no, he's out. Disappointment for Napoli, and an early exit for the Italian skier. Yeah, you can see the frustration, but the main thing is he's okay. So Biscoe Hudson of Chile getting the men's sit ski underway, the 23-year-old who's been to 2 Paralympic Winter Games, 9th in the slalom back in 2018, his best result, but also an international para tennis player. The honour of so started skiing in Beijing, that was. Started skiing at 17 years of age. The LW10-2 class at 84% factored time for Biscoe Hudson. That little roller does really well to get a little air and maintain as much ski snow contact as possible. Into this flatter section. Biscoe Hudson getting the chair to turn beautifully through that section. A little harder on the edge. That right-handed turn, but 1:09.54 is the time for Biscoe Hudson and the other 2 at the top to try and beat. Jane Slivnik of Slovenia next to go. Well, what a trailblazer he is for para-alpine skiing in Slovenia. He was the only Slovenian athlete at the Paralympic Games in 2018 and in 2022. He was 12th in the slalom in 2018. He was 4th in the slalom at the World Champs in 2022. LW12-1 class for the 24-year-old, so an 88% on the factored time. And 3.5 off the pace of Biscoe Hudson of Chile, current leader in the sit skiing. Inside of the finish now for the Slovenian. Nicely done from Slivnik.
Go Slivnik, go
Good support from the sideline. And 5.47 behind Bisca Hudson. So the last of our para-alpine athletes to go is Leon Elias Genset of Germany, as Slivnik, the LW12-1 class, 20 years of age, one of two flag bearers at the opening ceremony of these FISU World University Games Winter. Just started skiing on the World Cup. Studies law at Innsbruck University, and this also his first major game, so a learning experience for him, I'm sure, with the goal of being at the Paralympic Winter Games next year in Milan Cortina. Oh, he's got himself in all sorts of trouble and recovers nicely to make the blue gate. Good recovery from Genset. Bisca Hudson's time, I think, will stand the test. 109.54, indeed it does. Genset, oh, again running very wide. Having to put the brakes on to come back to skiers left to make the red gate. Over the finish line, stops the clock at 1:23.71. And Genset slots into third position. So that concludes the para-alpine skiing for the Super G and the women's vision impaired. It's Martina Votsa and Jelena Sabeduzzi, her guide, who set a really good time. Richard of France beat Martin Granitzo in the standing category. Well, in the sitting category, it was just Audrey Pasquale. It's a proud moment for Pasquale Secco. Congratulations to her. The men's vision impaired, it was Golosh and Valas who got the better of Rowan and Vilka. In the standings, a clean sweep for France. Bernard Bochet and Segers 1, 2 and 3. Cress in fourth. And what a moment for the French para-alpine team. And in the men's sitting Super G, Bisca Hudson finished in front of Slivnik, with Genset of Germany in third.